Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lower Columbia chapter of the Ice Age Floods Institute. Tonight we have a great program, Ice Age Bison in Your Backyard. Our speaker is Jauhn Brasseur, and he is an avid student of Pleistocene mammoth and megafauna fossils, as well as glacial Lake Missoula geology. He has degrees in geology, PSU, and engineering, U of Portland. He's had a number of finds in the area and has done preparation work on a number of fossils, including mammoth tusks, jaws, and some Cretaceous specimens. He enjoys adventures and sharing the wonders of these with young and old alike. Will you please welcome Jauhn Brasseur?
Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's get started. I'll try to zoom right along because this is a fairly info-packed presentation, and I'll just start right in. Okay, so this is about Ice Age bison, particularly fossils, but we're going to look at also mummies and DNA and hybridization and other very interesting things that have come from research into Ice Age bison. So let's dive in. I hope you guys all see the screen just fine, and I hope you're having a great evening. Okay, so overview. We're going to talk about the Ice Age bison worldwide, you know, kind of like, first of all, talk about some of the other megafauna like camels, sloth, and mammals, just kind of a cross-section through the megafauna, just to give a little bit of associative comparison. And then we're going to talk about the bison themselves and welcome you guys to the Ice Age bison family. Okay, then we're going to look at the forensic evidence. What have we collected? What is known about these things? How do we know these things? So we're going to look at fossils, carcasses, cave paintings, and so forth. All right, and then talk just a little bit about bison extinction. Where did they go? Where did all these various forms of bison go? Okay, so and then we're going to talk about what we're finding locally. So I go out, and my son and I, who's on here too, Noah, we go out and we look in some of the areas right around here, not 40 miles from where the center is, the Heritage Center is there where they used to have the meetings. And we're finding very good stuff. And I think Dave Ellison's on here too. He's been finding good stuff. And Mike Full has been finding good stuff. So it's out there and it's not far away. In fact, it might be in your backyard. All right. There's other great topics. I'm not going to talk about details on any particular site, lithics that are found with this, etc. Just too much info. Very interesting stuff. So let's go. Biome background. Well, I do a lot of digging, and my most digging actually is out in the Midwest, where I take crews like these guys out. Wonderful crews. This is a group of guys called the Prairie Brethren, and we dig up dinosaurs. Okay, and that's what it looks like. There's the Badlands in the backyard, and you walk around there and you find the bones popping out of those cliffs there, the erosional gullies, and you dig them up. All right. Here's some nice leg bones we found at one site, for example, and we've been hitting some really good stuff out there, really awfully good stuff. All right, and here's a place where we found a whole bunch of Triceratops rib bones all stacked together. Kind of looks like somebody had a barbecue there. We call it Tony Romo's. All right, there's a Triceratops, really bad drawing of one. We're finding Stegosaurus. So we found a Nodosaur, not nearly so nice as this one, which was found up in Alberta a couple of years ago. Cool animal, huh? That looks like a dragon. People buy me unusual gifts. Now that they know I go out and dig bones in the Midwest and over in the Willamette Valley, I get all these funny kind of gifts. Look at that. You ever seen a hairbrush like that? That is my favorite hairbrush. Okay, and then they give these paleo caveman bars. Huh. And then what's this? I don't know. Maybe it's like a Jello mold for making T-Rex Jello goodies to eat. I don't know. I haven't even tried it out yet. So yeah, thanks for all the good gifts, guys. I love them. Keep them coming. All right, so let's just kind of get this all in perspective here. The stuff we're digging out in the Middle West is down at the bottom. Those are dinosaurs, and those are found in the Cretaceous layers. Here in Oregon, what we're looking at is Ice Age fossils, and those are Pleistocene. They're higher up in the rock layers there. I hope that's clear to everybody. And what we're going to be talking about today is the Pleistocene, maybe a little bit into our era too. Okay, so let's look at Ice Age bison worldwide. Oh, wow, look at that motley crew there. Man, there were some big animals back then, and a few of those have left. You know, we still got elephants, obviously, and so forth. But these are the ones we're finding fossils in the Pleistocene layers here. Okay, maybe you recognize some of those fine fellows. Well, for instance, there's one we'll be talking a little bit about. There's camels. Oh, and what's that? That's a giant sloth. And of course, we can't go without talking about the mammoths, or like Yvonne was just talking about, the Mastodon, you know, the one found down there in Tualatin. And then last and not least, we're going to focus in on the bison here. So let's just dive right in. Here's Ice Age megafauna. Okay, and we call these camelids as a general family. Where are we going with that one? I'm going backwards. Sorry about that. Okay, so kind of looking up from the North Pole and cutting the Earth apart on the Mid-Atlantic ridge here. This is kind of how the world will look. And the idea that some people got now is that camels originated in North America, even though we don't have any native camels here. Interesting, huh? Why? Well, maybe it's because the biggest ones lived here. And you can see that the Bactrian camel lives over there in Asia, and then there's the African camel, or the Middle East camel, Dromedary. It's got one hump versus the Bactrian two hump. And then I don't know if you guys all know, but camelids include all these South American animals like the llama, the vicuña, the alpaca, and so forth. It's just we just don't have any in North America, except my neighbors got some fenced in their big acreage there. But they weren't native here. They brought those from South America. Well, what did we ever have in North America? Well, we had camelops and titanotylops. Okay, and that's the biggest one ever found. But they're extinct. But we find the bones here. I got a little bit of their bones, actually. Woohoo! All right. Now, there's a nicer picture in comparison with a African camel and with the North American Titanotylopus, which was just massive. Okay. Now, let's just give a little preview or overview of giant sloths. I really like these fellows because they're really odd-looking creatures, and we found a few parts of these things down there just south of Tualatin. Well, here's the varieties that the scientists think they've discovered. Who knows if they're all as distinct as they want, but so far, some of them sure are. And what we got here is the ones we're going to focus on. Well, first of all, we got to do due diligence here and give proper honor to the Megatherium. Not only is that an outstanding name, but that is a large animal. Those are meters over there on the left. So that's, 4.5 meters. That's 12, 15, 16 feet high. Imagine that thing knocking on your window when you're sleeping up in the second story at night. My goodness. Well, some interesting ones, though, is the ones I've got, marked over on the right. You got the Shasta, which is, you can see the fancy scientific name underneath it, and the Harlans and the Jeffersons. Those are probably the three you're going to hear the most of. And we got some of those over here on the West Coast, too. Well, there's the Megatherium. Not totally convinced of the scale on this drawing, but, man, they were big. I want you to really go away with the understanding that these fellows were big. All right, and what kind of distribution did they have? A lot of them over in the Ohio Valley and along the Mississippi there. And but we've got some in Oregon, too. So So we're there. Washington's got some. Very interesting animals. Now, let's talk a little bit about forensics. I'll talk more about forensics later. What is the evidence we have for these things? And it's not always just the bones. So for instance, in the southwest United States, in the Grand Canyon, a place called Rampart Cave. Well, guess what we found there? Wasn't me. I just say we as the Americans and scientific community. Okay, what was found in Rampart Cave was, well, I'll just show you. What are them fellers there? Now, those are actually pretty large, whatever them things are. Those are as big as basketballs or half-size basketballs. Them's big. Now, here's the thing. Those are dung. Yeah, that's right. That's mammoth dung. And it was just loaded to the, about a third of the way up the cave with this dung and dirt and so forth. And then unfortunately, it caught on fire and burned most of those dungs up. Bummer. There I'm holding a piece of Rampart Cave dung. Oh man, that thing's compact, I'm telling you. Nice product. Okay, next up is the Proboscidean. Jack, that one's for you. Here's some of the family. It's a big family, and I don't pretend to claim this is the whole family. It's a large family. So let's start over here on the right. There's a Stegodon, and those were more over in Asia and so forth. Then there's the mammoth, pretty widespread, Europe, Asia, America, South America. Then there's the Gonthotherium, North America, Central America. Then there's the African elephant, which is still in existence, and the Asian elephant. And you can see those two elephants are notably smaller than some forms of the mammoth, particularly the Columbia mammoth, which lived up here by the Columbia River, but was fairly widespread also. Now, maybe this one, since we missed the mammoth, the woolly mammoth, I threw it in another picture here. And again, you can kind of see the size comparison. That Columbia mammoth was one big fellow, and he used to walk around in your backyard. Okay, what was the woolly mammoth distribution? Well, like I was saying, all the way from Spain, all the way across northern Europe, and into northern North America. Now, the other mammoths were even more widespread, particularly in the Americas. Now, here's a kind of picture. I tried to put together a combined Mastodon and Mammoth map I found and threw in the woolly mammoths so you could kind of get a feel for it here. And boy, there's pretty good distribution of the Mastodon and the Columbia mammoth. And the woolly mammoth had a more limited range, apparently, although, there's always more finds underway. By the way, the Ohio Valley, I don't know what the thing is over there. Maybe that was due to the retreating glaciers over there and all the water and so forth. But look at the large number of mammoths and mastodons found over there. Absolutely fantastic. Just saw something in the news last summer. Another guy plowed one up with his John Deere tractor in his backyard. So they're finding this stuff in their backyard too. Okay, so quick quiz. Now, I got to throw these in here so you guys don't fall asleep. And while I can't get any visual feedback from you this time, I would like you to go ahead and answer these and see if you get them right. So honestly now, which one's bigger, T-Rex or Mammoth? Okay, everybody who said T-Rex, raise your hand. Can't see us still. Everybody said Mammoth, raise your hand. Now be honest, here we go. Here we go. Mammoth is bigger. Yep. It's bigger than all them theropod dinosaurs except for maybe the Spinosaurus. Now, of course, they recently, in the last 20 years, changed the position of the T-Rex to be kind of a low rider. And maybe that has something to do with it. But that diagram there shows that Mammoth was really a large animal. I hope you guys all grasp that. Okay. Now, next quiz, 2 in a row. I'm kind of a tough one, aren't I? What was the largest land mammal ever? Okay, think it through. I'm not talking, whales are not land mammals, okay, so no whales. Okay, well, the two finalists are the Paleoloxodon and the Paraceratherium. Now, I want you to practice saying those on your own here, okay? And then those were two big fellows. Look at that little fellow there, that man there for comparison. You don't want to tangle with either one of those, and you don't want to get between the two of them. All right, so there he is, and the Paraceratherium they think is a form of a rhinoceros, although, yeah, he's got some looks like a rhinoceros, but don't got no horns or anything like that. Okay, and then over here is the Paleoloxodon, and clearly that's a variant or in the family with the elephants. It's a proboscidean is what we'd call that. And so which one's bigger? It's hard to say. So they got a lot of guys debating this. The one problem with these kind of animals, and a lot of animals, the fossil record is fairly sparse on them. Surprisingly sparse on some animals, overwhelmingly abundant on other animals like Triceratops and Hadrosaur and so forth. But these guys, this Paleoloxodon, this fellow, all we got on him is a femur, the lower part of the femur. That's all we got. But from that, you know, it's obvious that this thing was absolutely massive. Now, how about the Paraceratherium? Did you guys practice that? Say that a couple times. Now, notice, boom, 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 boom. So how do you decide which one's bigger? Are we going to do like the thing with the T-Rex all crouched over? Okay. So anyway, the Paraceratherium's got a similar problem in that we've only got a few vertebrae, and I think it's the radial down there, the radial bone. So not a whole lot, but they're big enough so we can say, wow, that was some big monster. Okay, so here's what, you know, at least one publication thinks the winner is the Paleoloxodon. Yeah, okay. And why? Because it's 5 meters high at the shoulder versus 4.8 meters high at the shoulder for the Paraceratherium. That ain't fair because the Paraceratherium, his neck goes way up higher. So I think he's taller. So what about weight? Well, the Paleoloxodon comes in at 22 tons, and the and the Paraceratherium comes in at 17 tons. So yeah, well, the elephants win there again. So anyway, you know, in some regards, one is bigger, other regards, the other. So split decision, I'll give you credit for either answer you had. Although I like proboscideans better, so you would get some bonus points. Okay, what was the distribution of Paraceratherium? Surprisingly widespread. Never made it to North America, though. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about etymology. Etymology is a thing I hope you all practice in your spare time because you'll use it your whole life, and it helped me through a lot of tests when I didn't know the right answer. I just used etymology to get the right answers, and it's been very practical and useful in life. So I hope you guys will adopt etymology, the study of etymology. Okay, let's practice on a dinosaur first. Triceratops. Well, what does that mean? Well, there's the Greek, that's Greek. Tre, of course, means three, and keros is horn, which is interestingly the root of the word keratin, by the way. We're finding keratin on some of the dinosaur bones now. Really weird. Why would there still be keratin there? I don't know. Okay. You know, keratin's found on your fingernails and on the horns of various animals. Okay, hooves too. Okay, and then the last part of the breakdown of the word Triceratops is ops, which is face. So it really means three-horned face. Pretty cool. They did that one good. Paraceratherium, I had to try this one out because this one was a little bit complicated. So I broke this one down, and it's, again, Greek. Para means near or beside. Well, look there. We got keros again, which means horn, and also, you know, it's the root of keratin. And then there's theru, a therium, which is beast. So it's either beside the horned beast or near the horned beast. Didn't quite figure that one out. Strange. Well, anyway, it means near the homeless beast in reference to another animal in which it was basically a classification thing. They classified it, like they named it by its classification. All right, anyway, moving on. That's just how it happens sometimes. And by the way, there's two animals. A lot of people call it by the Untitled. I can't even read the bottom there because my screen's blocked, sorry. And the Paraceratherium. But the correct word is Paraceratherium. Glad we got that worked out for you guys tonight. And it came down to the fact that they were both the same animal, and the one that gets the name first wins. So make sure you always get your names for new animals, whether they're Ice Age or dinosaurs. You get those in right away because your name will win if there's a tie later. Thought you should know that. Okay, let's focus on Ice Age bison. Well, here we go. Well, looky there. We've got 4 extinct types of bison and 2 surviving. The 2 surviving are the American and the European bison. And European bison, you'll hear me refer to it sometimes as Wisant. Okay? I'm not sure the etymology on that one. I'm leaving that for homework for you guys, if you would. Okay, so the biggest one we've discovered so far is bison latifrons. Look at the massive horns on that thing. Woo! And there I am standing over next to it. Don't ever stand that close to a bison latifrons. Not a good idea. I was just up here. I've been traveling a little bit, and just out the door a couple of days ago, there's 2 huge moose out there. My goodness. Okay, next up is bison antiquus. We've been finding some of these right down in your backyards here. Yeah, did a dig out at Kings Valley not more than 6-7 years ago with Mike Full, and I believe this is the one that Dave Ellickson's got there down in Woodburn too. Okay, then there's bison priscus and the bison orientalis and the bison, which is again the American bison. All right, we're not showing the European bison on this chart. I don't know exactly why, but maybe just because the artist didn't know about it. Okay, so here's bison latifrons. Now, this ain't real, obviously, because these things are extinct, but just it's pretty good recreation of all the ones I looked at, and that's a gnarly looking animal there, fellas. That thing, you do not want to encounter him. Nope, maybe it's a good thing they're extinct. Okay, now let's throw this guy in here too, because he's going to become part of a very interesting story later in this slide deck, if you can stick with me. Very interesting stuff. Now, let's not forget the auroch. Okay, these things actually survived up until the 1600s. The last one died in the King's Forest in Poland. He is the ancestor of modern cattle and the European bison. Okay, apparently it's looking now like he's a hybrid European bison, and he's half auroch and half bison priscus, but not really half. He's more like 4 parts one part another. I'll show you. This stuff gets interesting and complicated. Okay, so I wanted to welcome you to the extended family, and I want to talk about buffaloes, bisons, and boss. Now, I hope you guys all know that boss means cow. All right. All right. So first of all, let's deal with this family tree, and this has been done with a DNA mitochondrial analysis. I grabbed this right out of a study. Probably should put their name on there. I got it somewhere, and very interesting, I tell you. And first of all, we want to see how these things. They're all kind of cow-looking creatures, or bison-looking creature, or whatever you want to call them. But I want to try to be technically correct in our terminology from this point on, okay? So first of all, we're not going to call the American buffalo a buffalo anymore. It's not. It's a bison. Sorry. The scientists made that decision. We're going to go with it, okay? Next up, the buffalo. Well, like I said, that's American buffalo is the American bison. Buffaloes, there's 2 different types. There's the water buffalo, the African buffalo, and neither of those breeds with bisons or bosses, so they're not really so related, okay? anyway, there's more to that story I won't delve into. Just in general, what I said is true. Okay, so let's identify all these fellows. So the purple ones we already did, those are buffaloes. Buffaloes. Okay, the blue ones are bison. And that means the American bison and the European bison, which, as I said before, the two survivors out of the at least 6 that used to exist. Okay, next up, we got boss, again, which is cows, or better, probably more precise to say cattle. So you got ox, zebu, the banting, the gal, and the yak. There you go. And these are the primary varieties of boss we have and we've classified today. All right, so let me give you some examples. In what we would call the ox, or probably better call it the common cow or cattle, well, I want to show you that not all cows really are so common after all, and there's an extraordinarily large degree of variation within the existing genetic pool. Surprised me, at least. Take a look at this fellow. How many of you guys have seen the Watusi cattle? Go ahead and raise your hands. Yeah. Okay. Be honest. Well, there he is. Oh my goodness. That guy must get some sore necks from time to time. Now, Watusi cattle. Look at those horns. Bet you didn't know those exist. Those all exist all over in Africa and on the east side more. Okay. But there he is again, Watusi cattle. I showed you 2, so you can't think there's just one aberration there. Those guys are real. Okay, next. Have you guys seen Highlander cattle? Well, it's very real. And it recently came to light in a well-documented research project that, in fact, the Beatles got their hairdo from the Highlander cattle. You know how the Beatles used to have that crazy hairdo in the 60s down to their eyes? Yep, that's where they got the idea, from the Highlander cattle. Okay, next up is the Texas Longhorns. Look at the length of those horns. My goodness. So I hope you get, and then there's the zebu. Look at that crazy hump he's got on their back. So I'm trying to introduce you to the variety here, because it's setting us up to kind of delve into some genetics and hybridization later on that would explain some of the missing bison. Very interesting. There's a gaur. Ever seen one of them? They don't live around here. Okay, now what's interesting is that, and there's a yak. Man, those are handsome hairdo on them fellows. Okay, but now here's what's interesting. What happens when you mix a yak with a oxen or a common cow? You get a strange looking creature. It's a hybrid. By the way, that looks probably the most like a latifrons, anything I've ever seen a lot. Not saying it's all that much like, but I think you could probably recreate a latifrons with proper hybridization. Anybody up for trying? Anybody got some fenced acreage, with fences 5 feet tall? These fellows are big and ornery. Okay, let's talk about the forensic evidence now. How do we know about these bison from the past? So we know about the ones currently because we got photographs. What about the old ones? Well, we got fossils and bones, and we got both, by the way. Some of the stuff in Alaska is not fossilized at all. It's still bone. Okay, so there's the bison latifrons, the big guys we were talking about. There's the bison antiquus. Yep. Finding those around here. Those 2 are both extinct, and the bison. So you can see how their skull structure has a load of similarity, but the horns are terrifically different. Okay, and here's an auroch fossil. Now remember, this is the father of probably all cattle and the European wisent, or the European bison. Okay, here's a bison latifron fossil. Beautiful picture. I borrowed from these guys there. Thank you, guys. And then the fossil bison are typically, well, here's the distribution anyway. Okay, latifrons. Okay, and bison antiquus. Definitely, we got some bison antiquus in Oregon. And Dave, I think they got that little dot right there on Woodburn, Oregon. they don't, give them a call, get that fixed. Okay. Now, talking about fossils, you know, they're not always found at land like this. Well, there's one of my favorite names I've run across in research is in the North Sea, there's a place called Doggerland. Yep, that's right, Doggerland. Yeah, it's just off the coast of the east side of Britain. It's in the North Sea. It's very shallow. It's like a big plateau there, and apparently did not have ocean on it all that long ago. And there was a thriving forest with loads of Ice Age megafauna, because the fishermen go out there and they dredge for fish and they pull out skulls of bison and mammoths and mastodons, all kind of crazy animals there, and they bring them into shore, and then people come and buy those from them just like they buy the fish. Well, I ran into some of those guys at trade shows, and those things are disappearing. The North, if you get a chance to buy a North Sea tooth or skull, take it now, because they're changing the way they fish. They do sonic fishing now. They don't do dragnet fishing. And so I think Holland doesn't even bring in any more fossils. Anyway, just giving you the heads up there. Yeah, there's one they dredged out. Can you recognize what that is? That's a mastodon skull with two massive teeth there that the guy in the orange suit or the yellow suit is staring at. See that? And those fellows are, that's a nice sample. I'd be more than happy to find something like that. Okay, so now how else do we know about the past of bison know about bisons from the past? Well, we've got frozen carcasses. Let me introduce you to the strange world of permafrost. Well, I know you guys know about some, but it's way stranger than you think. Well, look at this little Grand Canyon here up there in Siberia. Well, take a look at that thing and try to figure out what that's all about. Is that a bomb blast site, or what exactly is that? Well, take a closer look, but that, my friends, is basically permafrost melt happening on a massive scale. Now, here's a picture from down lower, and look at the stratigraphy of the permafrost. Can you see that? That is ice. That is mud and ice mixed together, called muck sometimes. And all those valleys and ridges there is where there used to be permafrost, and it melted, and all the topsoil fell down there in bunches and got eroded away to look like that. Isn't that fantastic? Oh my goodness. Now let's do a little bit of scale stuff. I kept asking myself, well, how big is this thing? Well, there's the permafrost cleft. There's the fir trees. Fir trees are, I don't know, 80, 90 feet tall. And that's 8, 9, 10 times, the cliff is 8 or 9 times the fir tree. So let's do 10 times 70. Could that be 700 feet? No way. Somebody calculate that out on their iPhone calculator while we're talking, please. Okay, look at the height. Oh my goodness. All right, yeah, there we go. And then up on the north shore of Siberia, well, look at that coastline. You know, they're finding all kind of tusks and skulls and the whole body's popping out of these cliffs. Well, what is that cliff made out of there? Oh, wow. Look at that. It's permafrost. It's ice with, like 6, 7, 8 feet of soil on top. And that keeps it insulated. But this is being eroded by the Arctic Sea. And those babies are popping out, and guys are collecting them. Well, you know about hydraulic gold mining? Well, they do that up in Alaska, up along the Yukon River and elsewhere, and they remove the permafrost with these hydraulic cannons. Boom, there it goes, and they find all kind of gravels in there, which they find gold, and from time to time they wash out a big, huge Ice Age megafauna. I talked to one of these gold miners just there a couple of years ago, and he's saying the guy in the mine next to his blasted out a full mammoth with hair on, tusks in place, the whole thing. Oh, this was actually back in 1958 or so. And the guy hurried. They dragged it over the side, kept mining. He hurried over, called the University of Alaska. The University of Alaska said they were too busy, couldn't come get it. So he just let it set off to the side and rot away. Yep. So who knows how many of those they've been blasting out of the permafrost. All right. Now, here's over in Russia again. Look at them. They got a big old, what is that, a femur coming out there? Just hydraulic mining. Boom, hydraulic mining. Just blasting away, getting rid of that permafrost, seeing what kind of fossils drop out of it. And sheesh, when I first saw this, I thought maybe we're watching that Hobbit movie with all those hobbits living in holes in the side of the hill. But no, these are mines. They're blasting holes into that permafrost, which is a mixture of ice and mud. And they're finding a lot of bones up there. That's what it looks like inside. They clearly don't have OSHA safety standards there. I recommend if you ever get over there, don't go inside. Okay? And then they're hauling out, what's this? Bison antiquus looks like. Yeah, look at that. That guy's scoping it out. Now, up in Alaska, they used to heat up water and just boil holes right down to, through 60 feet of permafrost till they hit bedrock, and they'd go down there and they'd mine those gravels for gold. I talked to guys that did this, by the way. Woohoo! So it's very warm down there. It never gets very cold. All right, frozen mammoths. Well, what about them? Well, all these numbers here are frozen mammoth sites. Huh. Now here's a mixture of the frozen mammoth and frozen rhinoceroses. They're finding woolly rhinoceros bodies now too? That's right. Strange. Okay, for instance, here's Dima, found in Siberia in 1977. Wow, look at that. Still got hair on his feet. And the hair on a lot of these guys are like what they call strawberry blonde. Interesting. Some of them are red hairs. They're like Vikings or stuff, All right, there's Lubia. Pretty much complete. Look at that. And then there was Jarkov in 1998. Wow, look at that. Had to cut that baby right out of the ice and haul it out as it was. Look at the size of them tusks. Yikes. Okay, there's Yucca, found in 2012. Look at that strawberry blonde hair on that thing. Ooh. Yep, and there's a whole bunch of doctors doing some photo op there. What exactly are they doing? Huh. Where they cut it up open, checked it out. One of these guys, I can't remember which one, when they cut it open, it bled. It still had blood in it. Yeah. And sometimes they'll find one that's sticking part way out, and the wolves or the coyotes or whatever they got in Siberia, they ate it. So a lot of this is still edible. Don't count me in, though. All right, and then there's Xenia, 2012, found by an 11-year-old boy. Look at that. I want to find something like that. The ribs, that thing's pretty much articulated, still in position. Wow, look at that. Fantastic. And there's the Paraceratherium mammoth in the early 1900s. And what I really like here is, because I'm going to test you on this later, giving you a little heads up. Well, no, I can't because I don't have the sample with me. Darn. Well, anyway, there's the jaw. Look at how the tongue had a beautiful groove in it where the tongue would slide back and forth. Very distinct. I've worked on a number of these, preparing these and restoring these, and yeah. Anyway, frozen steppe bison. Let's get going on that one. Well, here's a steppe bison. It's called blue bison. It's mummy. It's found in Alaska. It's got a bluish color to it from the surrounding soils, which is what always colors a fossil. It's the surrounding rocks and layers, it's embedded in that gives its color to a fossil, and to this case, to a mummy or a carcass, I guess we'd call that. All right, so he's up there in Alaska. You guys go take a look at him if you go up there. Here's the Yakeger bison, found in 2011. Wow, look at that. That is really amazing. He's got a smile on his face. Sometimes I think his head's upside down. I can't tell. Anyway, look, he's got some fur there still. Anyway, these things are popping out. I saw a cave bear carcass came to light last summer. All kind of things coming out. So how do we know about these bison from the past? How about the cave paintings? Well, I've traveled over into this area and into some of these caves here. Very interesting. The most famous ones are Altamira and Lascaux. Okay. And you go into these, you can't get into the really good caves anymore because they don't like, too many people had bad breath and they're causing moss to grow. So they said no more people. So even in Lascaux, they even made a fake Lascaux so you can go in there and see the fake versions of the paintings. But I got to go into a few of the caves where there was paintings, and there was, sometimes they just dig the drawings and likenesses of the animals into the side of the cave, into the soft clays or the hard rocks, whatever it is. Very interesting, guys. Not sure you can get into even a lot of those caves anymore. I was kind of fortunate. Well, anyway, beautiful stuff. Yeah. Here's an auroch found at Lascaux Cave. You see it on the left or on the right there. See that? So that's how we knew that they existed a long time ago. There's the only drawing that remains from an auroch, apparently drawn while it was still alive. Yep. And here they are in Chauvet Cave, France. Man, those guys were good artists, really good artists, highly impressive. And anyway, nice stuff. You can see the horses there. What do they call those? Pikowski's horses, which they thought were extinct for so long. Then they found them over in Mongolia. Okay, there again. And there's another step. There's a steppe bison found at Altamira Cave. And look at how accurate these guys were with their drawings. This is absolutely fascinating, you guys. Give these guys some credit. These were the ancestors to the French, basically. So this, probably, like Renoir and what's that guy's name with all the streaky paintings? Van Gogh is probably, they're descended from these guys. Okay, so now here's a really nice table we can't go into that goes into, somebody did a wonderful study showing all the different animals that appear in all the different caves, okay? What we're interested in is there's 800 bison images and 200 aurochs, okay? Keep that in mind because we're going to do a little bit of forensic study and mystery solving here a little later. Okay, in fact, we're there. Looky here. That guy just came right up here. So cave art recorded hybrids, by the way. So we know from breeding these animals that we can produce hybrids. They're rarely easy to produce hybrids. Sometimes it takes 4 or 5 generations of breeding to get the hybrid. And it's very complicated because a lot of times the male offspring are not a hybrid that can reproduce, and the female are, but then you have to keep crossing it with the original cross male species or variety, and until you get the desired results. Sometimes you have to go 5, 6 generations. It's interesting, you guys. Evidence of a hybrid auroch and bison. Well, now these paintings are right off cave paintings that we kind of showed you, and we've got paintings of aurochs. Okay, they're on the left, the red auroch in the drawing, and we've got the steppe bison or bison priscus, or you could also call it the steppe bison. Okay, somebody's still got their phone not muted. Could you guys all check? No yawning. I heard that yawn. I know who you are. Yeah, Zoom's got a yawn detector and identifier now. You're in trouble. Okay, so anyway, here's what crazy thing from. So in those cave paintings, we've seen aurochs, steppe bisons, and wisents. Okay. Now the interesting thing is, it looks like you can get through hybridization by crossbreeding steppe bisons with aurochs. Is probably where we got the bison bonasus, which is the wisent, which is the European bison from. So very interesting, guys, that you actually see all these varieties in the cave paintings, so they existed, and these animals did crossbreed back then without humans involved, because we've got them all on the paintings. But for us to get some of these now, we've got to do the crossbreeding and hybridization. Very interesting, very interesting. So several generations of female back-crossed with the steppe bison males result in about 10% aurochs and 90% steppe bisons. So we're trying to recreate aurochs, by the way. Okay, so how did these things go extinct? There's various theories. I don't really want to dive long into this, but I think I got a saying I came up with, and you guys can use it if you always credit it to me. Of course, probably somebody beat me to it, but it goes like this: master the obvious. Okay, so how did these bison go extinct? Well, there's different theories. There's human hunting, animal predators, catastrophe, climate change, disease, some combination of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or all of them. And for some reason, humans hunting megafauna is viewed as too difficult. Now, I have a lot of problem with that one because the historic record tells us precisely that's what happened, at least with a lot of animals. So why did it not happen with the little older paleo megafaunas? Okay. So did you ever watch The Bushmen of the Kalahari? Oh, good movie. Go watch that. Check that out from your local library. They'll let you in there. And track that down. These guys, man, they go and they kill megafauna with little basic arrows. All they do is dip the spears into poison. It takes a couple days for those animals to die and fall over, and those guys just run. They're in good condition. They just run along, follow that thing for a couple days till it dies, and then they eat a whole giraffe in this case. I'm sure they do with elephants too. Okay, there they are. By the way, they do it with basic arrows and some spears. Oh, I think the spears is how they finished it off. Oh yeah, if I remember right. Okay, what else? What about other examples of humans hunting animals? Well, there was buffalo jumps before the Indians had even horses like this picture. They used buffalo jumps, and there's places in Montana, Wyoming, where you can go where there's tens of thousands of bones of bison, American bison, at the base of these cliffs where the Indians would drive them over, the whole herds over, and they'd pick out all the tongues. They liked the tongues, and they liked one other piece too, I forgot, and they'd leave the rest, and they, that's the part they liked, and there's more than they could butcher, so most of the bones are still there to this very day. You don't even need weapons for this. Okay, so here's a buffalo jump bone bed. There's about 30,000 bison here at Vor Jump in Wyoming. That's right. Look at them piled right on top of each other. Okay, you guys know about atlatls? Wow, these are a great scientific improvement. They increase spear throw velocity enough to pierce the thick skin on some animals, and this could have been very effective in hunting large ice age megafauna like bison and mastodon and giant sloth. For some reason, did you ever think about eating a giant sloth? Somehow I think that one wasn't quite as tasty, but I don't know until we find one that's frozen up in Alaska. All right. So anyway, here's how you do it if you want to make one of these and practice at home. Yeah. And then they had this, and what do they call these? Amentum, which was what the Greeks used in their wars, and they just basically used these clever leather strap windings around their spear and got kind of the same effect as an atlatl. So these things have been known for a long time and are ways to pierce armor and to pierce thick skins on large animals. Okay, so now there is absolute evidence that bison were killed by hunters. Well, how do we know? Because we have Folsom and Clovis Point lithics or spearheads or arrowheads found right in the bones. Yep, here's one case over in Folsom, New Mexico. There's many more. Has any huge population megafauna gone extinct in modern history due to humans? Should we pose that one as a question? Raise your hand if you think the answer is yes. Okay, raise your hand if you think the answer is no. All right, here we go. Well, almost. What about the bison population? you know that originally there were like 50 million, maybe 60 million of these things, and they ranged all the way from eastern Oregon way over to Pennsylvania and Georgia? Yeah. And they find them over in the Salt Licks over in Kentucky. Yeah, Thomas Jefferson got a bunch of those, and people collected them and brought them to the president's office and put them on his table. He checked them out. Okay, and here's what happened. The original range is that light brown. The dark brown was by 1870. The range had shrunk dramatically, and by 1889, they were pretty much gone. Go read the book by J.W. Schultz called My Life Among the Indians. He lives with the one of the Blackfeet tribe, the Piegans, I think, and he talks how they went hunting. He lived with them a couple of years. The first 2 years were great. By the third year, all of a sudden they were gone. They disappeared quick, and it was pretty much in 2 years where they fell off so dramatically that they just never saw them anymore. Fantastic eyewitness account. By the way, that's the best way to read history, is eyewitness accounts. Okay, so buffalo populations, there's a graph down there on the left. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor there. I can see it though. Okay, so this was absolutely extraordinary depopulation. So please don't think that there's any need for explanation with other means. I mean, it absolutely could have happened, but it's not necessary. I just want to point out that the humans are very good predators. Okay, and what an excellent example we've got to see with our own, well, not my eyes, but the last few generations got to see this. Okay, anyway. Basically, it went from 15 million to 350 in 19 years. All right. Now, of course, this was with the introduction of the horses and the rifle, you know. And by the way, don't just blame this on the European hunters that went out and blasted away at them. They had a lot of fun hunting, and the pelts were buffalo robes were very, very in demand. But you do have to understand that the Indians were also used to killing a lot of them because there were so many, and taking just the tongues and a few choice pieces. So anyway, just a little history there for. Okay. So anyway, horses plus eating choice parts plus robe profits equals herd depopulation. That's right. Oh, well, looky here. All right. There's a nice stack of bison skulls. So you can see how the demand for bison robes did cause a big increase in killings, and they bring them fellows in, skin them here, and they stack the skulls up. Huh. Kind of like to find the place this picture is taken from and go over there and see if there's any of them still there. If anybody has any clues where that is, please send me an email. Okay. So anyway, rifles plus train hunting plus robe profits also led to herd extinction. So now let's get back to Ice Age bison in your backyard. And for that, I mean, most of you guys that are living in Oregon, they're in your backyard. They used to walk through there, and some of them are buried there. Yeah. Woodburns had the ones Mr. Elgson found out there. So anyway, look at this nice graphic. You just got to see this. I like it a lot. There they are in the backyard. You're mowing your yard, and you're just about mowing the horn off. Of course, that's a Triceratops, but that's the best fossil I could find. All right. So be careful mowing your lawn over there, okay? All right. Now, here's an interesting picture on the right. This is the various courses that the Willamette River has taken over the years. And it's very visible even if you look on Google Maps. And it's because of this that you can go out into these areas and find some of these fossils, bison, mammoth, and otherwise that got washed down the rivers and deposited in the gravel deposits all over where those braided streams used to run. All right, cool, huh? There you go. Here's a nice spot on the Willamette River. Huh. There's one of the places we went hunting for stuff, and you find a whole lot more than just bones. Yeah, all kind of crazy things out there. There's my daughter Tristan. She found something really good on this trip. Oh yeah, look at that. A couple. What are those? What kind of teeth are those? Horse teeth? Huh. Not big enough for rhino teeth. Yeah, can't remember. Oh, no, this one. You know what that is? Okay. That's a Mastodon tooth. They're different than mammoth tooth. Mammoth teeth are flat at the top for grinders, and mastodon teeth have these mountain peaks that are used to chomp on twigs and harder vegetarian matter. Who knows, maybe they ate rowdy people too. So you heard that horses eat meat too, right? Sometimes they'll grab a rabbit and eat a rabbit. Ah, strange world. Okay, here's a guy that lives down by the Willamette River. Can't give his name out. He's got a whole garage full of these bones he got out of the Willamette, dredged out of the Willamette River. Just boxes full. Oh, okay. Here's a guy I met, and I put a disguise on him so you guys couldn't figure out who he was. And yeah, he found this tooth right down at the backside of his property where it drops off into the Willamette River, and there you go. There's a nice mammoth tooth he's got there. Yep. Oh, well, here's a family that lives down there near St. Paul, and they were kind enough to show me a picture of these young ladies that found this humongous mastodon femur in a creek next to their house, and can't tell you where it is because I'm going out there trying to find the rest of that fellow. I've tried all kind of different tricks trying to figure out where that was. They both died recently. That was way back in the 30s or something. Anyway, there's me and Larry. You guys know Larry Purchase? We restored that mammoth tusk there. It's called the Willamette Mammoth, I think is what we settled on. We're really creative in our naming. Yeah. And yeah, we put that thing together, and that's down in the Tualatin Library. Please go see it. And there's some other very nice fossils that have been put there. And anyway, that was a tough one because it delaminated very badly. They dry up and they start breaking into pieces, and we got to do some more work on that. Okay, here's one that somebody in this group had, and I prepped this out for them. Very beautiful. There's that little tongue channel I was showing you from the Berescova mammoth earlier on. Remember that? And that's right there. When you see one of them, you know what you got, even if the rest of it's all broken away. I found several of these that only have the front part of the jaw in existence. The rest tumbled down the river, broke up, disappeared, went out to the ocean. It's long gone. But I know right away what it is because it's got this channel. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Some teeth. Okay, here. Oh, yeah. Well, here's a mammoth tooth I found down in a river here in Oregon. First, I thought it was a pair of Nike shoes upside down. When I saw it down under the water, I said, "Wait a minute, Nike never had a pattern like that." And I said, "Oh boy, is that what I think it is?" Reached down, grabbed it, and it was what I thought it was. That is a mammoth tooth. That's the grinder surface. Yeah, little mold on it. We got that all cleaned up. All right, now. Was I really excited about this or what? Ooh, yeah. Now, how do you ID tooths, mammoth tooths? I'm going to try to go faster because we got to finish this. Okay, so there's, Gomphotheres, Mastodon, Gomphotheres, mammoths, Asian elephants, African elephants. And there, if you look at this closely, I won't go into it. There's tricks to being able to identify which each of them are. Okay, so which one is the one I found? Ching, 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 ching. It matches the mammoth. There it goes. That's how you do things. So how do most elephants and proboscideans die? Sadly, it's because their molars wear out. They usually get to the 6th, sometimes the 7th, they wear out, and they starve to death. Very sad. What are we finding? There's, is that Noah? That's Noah. There we are, rafting down one of the rivers, looking for fossils, and we found there's something in that picture I wanted you to see. I forgot what it was. Oh, there he goes. There he is. He found a couple of shards. Mostly it's shards because they all get broken up, tumbling down the river. You really want to trace them back to where they're sticking out of the bank. It's pretty hard to do in Oregon. A lot easier to do out in the Badlands of Montana because they don't have all that green stuff all over the banks that's hiding your dinosaurs or your mammoths. Okay, there's a tooth. That's a horse tooth I found. Yep, right here in Oregon, guys. You got paleo horses. Okay, So what are we finding? Teeth and shards, mammoth teeth shards, horse teeth. We found a little bit of sloth, but nothing like the multiple or articulated parts of one creature. Just chunks of stuff. Fun though. How about an extinction theory, just for fun here, you guys? Ready? Why are there no camels in North America now? Think that through a second. I got an idea. I was driving down in Peru and I saw this. I think they took them and headed south. Okay, that's the end. All right. Well, so yeah, I guess I don't know the next step, but that's when you get to the rear of that last animal. That is the end. That's a bison, by the way.
Okay, so we can open it up for Q&A. If you want to type your question into chat, there's a chat option down at the bottom. Okay, we have a comment from Pat Lamb. Buffalo Skulls photo. Michigan Carbon Works in Detroit, the Detroit Public Library. Brought in from bones gathered on plains. Pile is more than 50 feet high. So you ask about that picture where the man was standing on top and another one at the bottom of those huge pile of buffalo skulls. She says that's where it was, Michigan Carbon Works in Detroit. Wow.
Well, Pat Jam, when you see me next time, you remind me of this, and I will reward you with a Paleofauna fossil found in a nearby river.
Wow.
I don't know how you did that so fast. Did you used to work there?
Okay, we're getting comments to you, John. Thank you, John. Another one says, great talk, John. Amazing. We learned so much. Glad there's no test. And then Pat Lamb says, you'd have to bring it to Montana. Worked at Bison Range.
Well, we do dig dinos out in Montana.
Okay, we don't have any new questions coming.
Don't be shy, guys. By the way, I didn't talk a lot about the hybridization. I probably should have thrown more in there. I didn't realize I could talk that fast. But no, you can create a lot of varieties of, not a lot, several varieties of what we would probably have called species at one point. Now it's appearing that there's these families, you can interbreed the subfamilies and come up with things that have sort of disappeared from history. Anyway, I'm researching that one more. It's very interesting.
So if someone does have a question and doesn't want to take all the typing time, unmute and ask your question. We'll see if that'll work.
John, this is Chuck Jackson. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, hi Chuck, I can hear you.
Hi, great talk, really very interesting, and opened up a lot of avenues that I didn't know about. Those African cattle with the huge horns, that would have quite a cost metabolically and to carry around and to grow and to carry around and maybe get in the way at times. What's the main survival advantage? Is that staving off competitors for mates, or they don't get food that way? How does that balance out, cost benefit?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I don't know an extraordinary amount of the Watusi cattle.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if they were bred for that, for some status thing for the bull that, you know, everybody wants to use for stud purposes and stuff. I would like to research that part more. I just keep looking at it, said that thing must have a really bad neck after a few years of hauling them around.
Right. Yeah, well, good. Thank you.
We've got a couple of notes in the chat. Did you see that control of the National Bison Range has been transferred from the National Park Service to the Kalispel Kootenai tribe? And Pat Lamb says, actually from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. Been ongoing for 20 plus years. So now, Scott Burns, did you have a question? I thought I saw yours light up.
Yeah. Interesting. Why are they giving it to the Kootenai and the Salish? Those guys only went out to the plain during the summers. They lived up in the mountains in Idaho, and yeah. Huh.
I just have a question for John, and can you hear me?
Yeah, hey there, Scott Burns. How you doing?
Hey, well, good. John, I never knew that you had this great interest in fossils when you were a student at Portland State. And so how many years have you been doing this?
Shoot. Probably.
It's wonderful. I really enjoyed the talk.
Oh, thanks, Scott. Scott was one of my instructors at PSU with my geology degree, guys, by the way. Good teacher. Go get a degree at PSU. Let's see. So probably, did I start with the dinos or did I start with the local Ice Age stuff? Probably about the same time. It was about 2010. Wow. I don't know. It just started happening, Scott. I was always fascinated them, and just incredible doors started to open. And I'm kind of a high energy guy, and just fantastic. Finding them in both locations now. I get to take crews out every year over to, you know, the Midwest, and we're finding stuff every year. I keep thinking I'll quit as soon as we don't find anything, but we just keep finding. So, yeah, just probably 10 years.
Thanks. Good luck.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I thought the giant sloth was the biggest land animal.
You thought the giant sloth was the biggest land animal?
Yes.
Well, he was very, very tall, actually. You're absolutely correct on that. But in terms of shoulder height, where they tend to measure, and weight, he was not in the top two. Now, total height, I would like to see total extended height of him compared to the Paraceratherium. Can you say Paraceratherium?
Paraceratherium.
Wow, that's awfully good. I think you're going to be a paleontologist when you get older, young man.
So Kim K writes, were you going to say something more about extinction of camels in North America versus extinction of other megafauna?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a great, there's so many branch studies to do from this. It's really, you know, just both on the hybridization, which has been kind of new to me for the last 2 years, just really delving into this approach to where did some of these animals go and can we recreate them? And then the other one, the extinction. So yeah, camels would be a great one. Unfortunately, we don't have any eyewitness accounts of camels in North America, at least that I'm aware of. Maybe there's some Indian rock art, but I sure haven't been able to track any of it down. To me, if you get to some Indian rock art on any of these, you know you have a overlap. You have contemporaneous lives of humans with whatever species you see chiseled into the rock or painted into the rock. And that's a very interesting place for me to study. I haven't seen any camels on any Indian rock art. I've seen bison, I've seen rhinoceroses, I've seen what was that, mammoth, yeah, and some other weird looking creatures too that I haven't figured out exactly what they are yet. Great area of study though. Camels are way underrated in this whole thing. That's why I kind of threw them out there. I want to give them some airtime. I like bluegrass music, and bluegrass music, everybody gets to do a solo.
She says, very interesting. Thank you. So do we have
from his father?
Someone have a question?
No, I just wanted to congratulate my son, Jauhn, on his nice presentation. Interesting talk.
Yeah, it was good. Very good.
Could I make an observation?
Sure.
Just one. Just one.
Just one. But
Give me a bad time.
I would note that we have found 4 ancient animals: sloth, mastodon, mammoth, bison, in the Tualatin River Valley.
And horse.
And a horse. Okay.
And a beaver. What that the large beaver Castio? What is that called? Forgot.
So there are a variety of ancient animals in the Tualatin Valley.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Good summary.
Yeah.
I think there's one more, Yvonne. I'm forgetting one more I saw right down there somewhere.
You're right. I can't get it either.
John,
Horse.
could you review the approximate dates or the years ago for the Pleistocene era?
I got it back in the slide. I was showing it more for relative. I don't know if I put it there. I think it's just, let me go on here.
Yeah, I don't think it had dates on it, but.
No.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. Scott can probably pitch in here, but you've got really here we go. Let's see if I threw those in there. No, right there. Okay, no, this is more just the geologic column sequence. Scott would know more, I think.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the Pleistocene goes, originally from 2 million years ago up to 10,000 years ago. All of that is the Quaternary. But now a lot of people are saying that really the Quaternary started 2.8 million years ago. This is when the glaciers really started. And so I always, there's always this great debate. Is it 2 million years ago that the Quaternary and the Pleistocene started, or is it 2.8? And all of the climate studies say 2.8. That's when it really started getting cold and getting into the ice ages, et cetera. And then the Holocene is the last approximate 10,000 years. We can be more specific after the Pleistocene.
Great, thank you very much.
And Larry McClure wrote that the animals that Yvonne and John were talking about, they will be on display at the Tualatin Ice Age Foundation Interpretive Center that we will have in the future. So Sheila Alfson says, thank you, John. Great talk. Glad the sound worked out. And thank you, Sheila, for your help earlier. So John, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming and giving your excellent talk. So again, John, thank you so very, very much. And everyone,
thanks for having me, Sylvia.
Definitely. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
How many of these fossils come down from the Tri-Cities floods?
Yeah, Glacial Lake Missoula flood. Yeah, still in debate, but some of it, I have a hard time thinking some of those didn't wash down with the Glacial Lake Missoula floods. So yeah, and we found some above the supposed Glacial Lake Missoula flood layers too. So But there's still debate. Some people say, how could they get drowned in the glacial Lake Missoula flood? Because it couldn't have been filling up the Willamette Valley very fast. I said, it doesn't have to fill up fast. It just has to isolate them on a hilltop and force them to swim with all the logs and the other flotsam and jetsam floating around, and they become fossils.
All right. Thank you. Good night.